For some reason the video shut itself off. Anyway, this is a set that's called Dragonware from Japan. This set is probably from the 1950s, and it's in really nice condition considering that. Dragonware is this sort of raised embellishment on the plate, so you can feel it. It's hard to probably see it in the video, but and they would do these gorgeous dragon designs that is sort of like an embossed type of a thing, and it's actually porcelain that's sort of squeezed out onto the plate, and then it hardens into the design. And so this is a three-piece set, which is also often you'll find a teacup and a saucer, a matching saucer. Oh, and by the way, that's an important thing when you're collecting. Always double check to make sure that the teacup and the saucer that you're buying actually are matching. Some antique stores will combine saucers with teacups that they think look close, or they think would go together, but they're not really a matching set. And to be really collectible, you want them to be a true matching set. Very rarely have I ever bought a set that wasn't a true matching set. There was only one time, and both pieces were from Bavaria, and both pieces were stunning and looked awesome together. And I did buy them, and I sold them with full disclosure that they were not a true match set. And the person who bought them loved them and left them in his collection. But oftentimes, if you're not really careful, you can get it home and then realize, oh, I bought a set that's not actually matching. Because sometimes they can fool you. Anyway, this is a Japanese teacup, Dragonware. Japanese teacups have a really different look to them often, and can be just a lot of fun to collect. And three-piece sets, when you can find them, are also more collectible. You'll probably pay a little bit more for them, but they're really fun when you have the plate with the saucer and the teacup that all go together. So let me think. So I'm looking at my notes to see what I'm forgetting here, where I left off here. Oh, so some really basic things that you want to think about when you're buying teacups is that you don't want chips or cracks or what they call crazing. Now, sometimes if it's an old enough teacup or rare enough teacup, you may just say, hey, I don't care, I still want that teacup, even though it does have a chip or some crazing. Now, chip is pretty obvious. It would be where there's just a little chunk out of the porcelain. Somewhere along the line it got dinged and a little chip came out. Those are usually pretty easy to see. Although if you're older like me, you get up into your 40s or beyond, sometimes our eyes aren't quite what they used to be. And so I'll bring my daughter along with me sometimes, who is quite a bit younger than me, and she can see things that I don't always see when we're in the dark antique store or whatever. But if you don't have somebody with young eyes along, or you forgot your glasses or whatever, one thing that you can do is use your fingertips. So if you run your fingertips along the cup, along all the edges of the cup, if there's a chip or there's a crack, chances are you're going to feel it. You'll feel it. Because porcelain's so smooth that all of a sudden you'll have a little hang up, like, oh, what's that? And then you look close and, oh my goodness, there it is, right? And you can do the same thing along the edge, like this. And that often you'll see cracks are what will get me sometimes. I won't notice, and then I'll get home and I'll notice that there's a tiny little crack starting in the bottom, you know, and kind of coming up. And often I just won't even sell the teacup because the quality that I want for Happy Gals Vintage is just more than that. Unless it's a very highly collectible teacup, and then I will disclose in the description of the product and with photos online that that's what the person is getting, and then I'll sell it at a really, really good price. Because I like to sell things that are just in excellent, excellent condition. So crazing is something that some people, unless you've been collecting vintage porcelain, you may not know what that means. Crazing is these tiny little hair-like lines in the porcelain finish. And honestly, I don't have anything right now. And even if I did, I don't think you'd be able to see it very well in the video. It'll be something that sometimes you won't even see unless you get it in a really good light. And it's this fine, fine hair-like lines, crackles in the porcelain finish. They don't go all the way through, so it's not something that would cause a leak in the cup or anything like that. It's just that the porcelain was either inferior porcelain to begin with, so it's breaking down, or it's that it is just so old that it's starting to break down. Now, I have had some pieces in my shop right around, they were turn of the century, you know, early 1900s pieces that did have crazing, and I did sell them in my shop, again with full disclosure that there was crazing. And when it's age-related crazing and it's a very collectible piece, like I said, sometimes you will just overlook that. But generally, if you're shopping for teacups, you really want to avoid ones with crazing, because it means that the porcelain probably is inferior. If it was a teacup that has been made since the 1940s or so, and it's got a lot of crazing, I would probably avoid it in most cases. Again, it's always a judgment call, because if you just love that teacup, you may not care, right? It's for your collection, and you're probably not going to be drinking out of the teacup. Some people drink out of their teacups from their collections, but most people probably don't. They put them on shelves and just enjoy looking at them. So, like I said, the crazing thing is up to you, but it's a good thing to know and be aware of and be looking for. And cracks are pretty self-explanatory. Everybody knows what a crack is, and it's so sad. Many, many times I'll be looking at a teacup in an antique store, at a flea market, and I'll just be loving the teacup, and then all of a sudden I'll see a crack, you know, and the thing with a crack is it may start small, but usually it keeps going with time, and so I just pretty much avoid those. So anyway, so I think that's all we're going to cover in this video. I've probably talked too long already, but just some things to think about with vintage teacups and to get you going. And again, check out my website, which is happygalsvintage.com. And if you want to get started at collecting some teacups, I have some great ones that you can check out. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.